So, welcome to Parashat Vayishlach. Is it Vayishlach?
Is it?
Yes. Yes.
Vayeshev. That was a trick question.
And I fell for it.
Yeah, so did I. Welcome to Parashat Vayeshev, and I'm delighted to have with me my beloved wife, Yocheved Rindenow Godsi, who's going to discuss this parasha with us. And let's, before we go right into it, I always like to invite guests to tell us what they're doing. So what are you busy with at the moment?
At the moment, we're currently on a retreat, on a stargazing retreat in Mitzvah Ramon, with a bunch of beautiful people, and we're here to do the first part in a series of workshops on the Old Torah's new book, which is coming out this week.
Amen.
In Hebrew, Mazal Tov, and which I'm in the process of translating into English.
Great.
Yeah.
That must be quite an arduous task to translate this holy book into English.
It's fun soul work.
Okay, so let's go into this parasha. This parasha is full of intrigue, and the main messages are the angels that we are hearing giving us messages. But before we go there, I just wanted to start off with, at the beginning of the parasha, this idea of whether it is right for tzaddikim to enjoy the fruits of this world if they're already getting all the principle in Olam Haba. I mean, what's your take on this? And I particularly would love to have heard what your father's take on it, because I think it's a very individual thing. You know, where do you draw the line? And I said in my podcast, imagine that we had a machine that converted every apple to 100 apples. Every apple you put into the machine, you got 100 apples. And that's what Hashem does for the tzaddikim. He says, you can have the apple here, but you can also invest it in my machine and you get 100 in Olam Haba. Which do you choose? Where do you stand on that idea?
It's so my father, Allah Shalom, I can hear him saying how this world, like you rest in the next world.
You rest in the world.
In the next world. This world is for action and for doing, and like you could feed the Sahara, you could feed it a taste, you could give it a taste, but like that's all it needs.
Not indulging.
It's not about indulging. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, except for certain things, you know, Shabbos, or not Shabbos. Yeah.
Children.
Children.
Okay, so that's great.
But also you need to enjoy this life. You need to enjoy this world.
So
it says that when the tzaddikim pass on, they get asked if you took pleasure in this lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does one draw the how does one know to draw the balance between enjoying this world and like overindulging? Where's that line?
Right. So for me, it would be a constant dance, which is an ongoing dance, depending on whatever the circumstances are, but that you want to come from a place of choice. You want to come from a place of not being compelled of having to do something, but being able to choose, okay, I'm going to eat this now and I'm going to enjoy it, but not because like I have no control over whether I'm going to do that or not, right?
So it's not like the Yetzer Hara is driving you. You're choosing to indulge with or enjoy whenever you.
Right, you're driving. You're
driving.
in the driver's seat.
Beautiful definition.
Yeah.
Thank you. So let's go straight into the matter, which is these angels that are guiding us. We have the story of Joseph going over to check on his brother, and we were both thinking, how could Yaakov send this 17-year-old boy on his own to check on his brother in Shechem? Could you open up that question for us?
Right, we were talking about this earlier, that first of all, so Joseph is number 11, right?
Yeah.
Of the 12 brothers, and the other brothers are not so fond of him, and he's aware of that, and his father is aware of that. It's not a secret, and here his father is saying to the 17-year-old, not only to go on his own through the wilderness, which is already something, to go check on 10 other people, so go by yourself to go check on 10 other people, but also it's his brothers who he knows have animosity towards him. So it's like, what is Yaakov thinking?
Right.
Right.
And so the only conclusion we come to, and the Alshech says this, is that somehow Hashem like plants an idea in Yaakov's mind that it's okay. And I mean, the way it happens is beautiful. Yaakov perceives that Yosef will be a better judge as to whether it's safe to go or not, because he's closer to the brothers and he knows whether the threat from the brothers is really a threat. And so Yaakov says, "Hey Yosef, your brothers are in Shechem. Would you like to go and check on them?" And he's waiting. It's a question. He's waiting for Yosef's answer. And Yosef says, "Hineni, I'm ready."
Mhm.
And based on that confidence, if you're that confident, then okay, it's good to send. It's okay. It's safe for me to send you because I know my sons are tzaddikim. And if you feel confident, then I'm now giving you the mitzvah to go and check out of them. So it's because we always have this thing that Hashem doesn't interfere with our free will. He cannot interfere, doesn't want to interfere with Yaakov's free will to send or not. But he's planting a seed that it's okay. He's planting a seed.
An angel whisper.
An angel whisper. An angel whisper. And then we have the situation where Yosef goes into the field and he's mumbling in the field. He's lost in this field. And he encounters a man who is my hero. And I said in the podcast, my hero, because I love this idea of a complete stranger coming onto the street, seeing somebody who's lost, asking him, and he asks him, "You're lost, what are you looking for?" And he says, "I'm looking for my brothers." And he just says, "Oh, they've gone to Dotan." That's all he does, and then he goes off stage. We don't know his name, we don't know his background, nothing. But
Rashi
he
says
is the
it's
king.
Gabriel.
Sorry?
Rashi says it's Gabriel.
Gabriel.
No.
Well,
The
we'll
angel
come.
Gabriel.
Yeah. But what I love about it is that this individual, whoever it is, changes the course of history, because if he wasn't there at the time directing Yosef to Dotan, to the brothers, we wouldn't have had Yosef going down to Egypt, we wouldn't have Mitzrayim, we wouldn't have the Torah. So what a crucial point. And the Alshech actually says that because in the Pasuk it says Ha'ish 3 times, that it's 3 separate angels. Gabriel, Michael, and one other, I can't remember. Uriel, was it? Yeah.
So 3, I don't know, 3 main ones.
So,
Yeah.
Raphael, not Uriel. Raphael, thank you.
Raphael, Gabriel,
Yeah.
Uriel.
So what we have is so what we have. Thank you for your attention. What we have is I've got a rough crowd here. What we have is 3 angels guiding Yosef, and they each. Why 3 angels? The Alshech says because there are 3 separate messages that have to be given to Yosef. The first angel says, you look lost, basadeh, and it's basadeh, not besadeh. And the Alshech said, you think you're in the field, that you had the dream of your brothers bound down to you. This is not the field, and this is not the time, and this is not the place. That's not where we are. It's going to happen in the future, but not now. That's the first message. And then he's hesitating. Well, should I go back? Maybe I should go back to my father then. And then the second angel says, well, what are you looking for? And he says, I'm looking for my brothers. And the Alshech said, of course the angel knows what Yosef is looking for. Why is he asking that question? He's asking the question so that Yosef himself realizes that he's in a state of looking for peace. Looking for my brothers, I'm looking for peace. I'm not looking for the war. And the angel says, if you're looking for peace, then you'll be saved. You can go ahead, it's safe for you to go. But the third angel comes to warn him, and he says that your brothers, Al-Humik Mizeh, they've gone from the idea of 12 brothers, and it's already a dangerous place for you. And in order for you to survive, you have to change your attitude. No longer can you think of them as serving you, as being the king, but you have to be subservient to them. Otherwise, they're going to kill you. Because God sets it all up, and He realizes that if He doesn't want Yosef to go back to his home, He wants him to go to his brothers, but He realized that if He sets him up to go to his brothers, he could be killed. And so He has to send these angels to change Yosef's attitude. And that's what He does. And He begs for mercy, and the brothers feel the mercy, and then they send him as a slave instead of killing him. So we have these 3 angels, and what I want to discuss with you is You know, is it just Yosef that has these angels that whisper into his ears to redirect him on course, or do we all have that benefit?
So even a blade of grass has an angel that whispers to it to grow, right? So even more so, we have plenty of angels who are speaking to us and giving us messages all the time. Different levels of angels overriding different things, and they're guiding us through. And there's also definitely voices that come in that you shouldn't be listening to, right? But we have guiding angels, and if we learn how to listen to them. And so what's really interesting when you talk about the three different angels is I'm hearing a progression of consciousness that's going on for Yosef. So like first he's coming in and he has this vision of, you know, I had this dream, I'm gonna be the leader, my brothers are all gonna bow down to me, and here I'm off to go let them know, right? And it's very naive, right? And so so the first angel was just like enough to tell him like, sorry to break it to you, that's not what's going on. Right? And so already then he starts to question like whether you should go back or not, right? But like it's the beginning of like the way you're seeing it, you are not seeing reality accurately in the way that it is. Like there's something that's blocking your ability. He just doesn't have like a mature vision about what's happening, right? And then the second angel that comes along says to him,
what are you looking for?
What's your objective basically? Like what do you think is going to happen right now? Just like, so start thinking about it, open up the question to yourself. If that's not what's happening, what do you think is happening here? Right? And he's like, well, you know, I'm going in peace, right? That's what I'm looking for. He's like, okay, so that's already, if you have an outlook and a vision that's peaceful, then already you'll begin to perceive different things that are coming in. And then when he was at that level of peace with it, then he was able to see, oh, the real situation that's going on over here is my brothers are going to want to kill me, and I'm in grave danger, and I have to go beg for my life. And had he not reached that progression, then he would have been in real mortal danger, right? And so we're getting messages all the time. We constantly have angels talking to us. It's what level are you capable of tuning into and being available to?
So let's just talk about this, because I know that you know, in your practice as a psychotherapist and a healer, energy healer, you help a lot of people connect with, I think, their soul and also those angels. How do we discern in a noisy environment, in a city environment where there's so many distractions to our consciousness? How do we know whether it's an angel speaking, or our imagination, or worse, you know, a demon, for example?
Okay, so firstly, I want to say that the way that we do this is we don't directly talk to angels, right? So angels are the messengers. They're relaying the messages, but we're really having a conversation with God. That's our actual relationship, and that's our dynamic, and it's going through that filter, right? And you can build your level of relationship and get more and more intimate until you get to that place where you are face to face talking to God, right? So, but the actual conversation is not happening with the angels. Okay, so that's one thing. And how do you know the difference? When something is truth, then it's very quiet and still, and it's not pressuring you in any kind of a way because it's okay. So it's that still small voice, right? It's not like when something's coming from an emotional place, right? You have to have it. It has to be now. There's a lot of pressure that's happening inside of that. And so you'll feel that inside of you, right? There's a turmoil that's happening with it, right? But when you listen to what the actual direction is, it's not gonna be repetitive over and over. It doesn't speak that way, right? It's gonna be a silent voice that you have to tune in and be available for.
And if you miss it, does it come again? Or
it will come again, and the more you tune into it, the more it will talk to you. That's always the case.
So how do we tune into that frequency? If we imagine we're a radio station and we want to tap into that frequency of the angels whispering, how do we tune into that?
It's about silence. So like that's like, you know, one of the hot commodities today is just having just silence, because we're still bombarded with so much stimulation. And so you just want to get into a place where even if you're doing something, it could be a rote activity that you're doing, right? Like for me, it's like cooking. It's a meditative thing when I cook. because I'm doing something, unless it's a new recipe and I have to think about it. I'm doing something that I already know how to do, and my mind can be quiet then, and then thoughts can come in, right? Or just take, and that's what it is when people meditate. They sit and they focus on their breath, or they focus on a mantra in order to get your mind occupied in something quiet, so then you can connect, right? And then when you feel connection, once you sink into that place.
I mean, we had a lot of Dr. Joe Dispensers talking about getting ourselves into the, what is it?
The nothing.
They called it some sort of beta zone or gamma zone.
So alpha.
Alpha, yeah, where you're sort of half sleep, half not, and that's the best medium to download those messages.
You want to get your brain waves into a certain state that's kind of pre-sleep but still consciously available.
Right, and that's really what the meditation is trying to do.
It's exactly that. It's exactly that.
So before we come back to that, because I really want you to, we're going to do questions in a minute. Please, what I'd like to do is just give us your perception on this big question that I had, which is, why does God want us to go into Egypt? I mean, just give us the Torah already. Why do we need to have all that hardship and slavery and pain and death? 80% of our families deciding not to leave Egypt. It's very, and the Alshech says, guys, the snake, Adam and Eve, impregnated humans to such an extent that it would take 1,000 generations to remove that pollution from our DNA. And God knew that we as a nation, as a humanity, wouldn't survive 1,000 generations because we would just destroy ourselves. So what does he do? He reduces it to 26 generations. Why 26? Because it's Yud-Heh Vav-Heh, the gematria of that. So on the basis of the attribute of mercy, we're able to sustain ourselves till getting the Torah. But we still have to go to Egypt, and the reason the Alshech says is that it's part of the cleansing. It's part of those 400 years, of which 210 were in Egypt, were part of that cleansing. And if without that, we wouldn't have been able to have the purity to be face to face with God in Mount Sinai and receive the Torah, which is the ultimate objective. I'm just wondering what your take is on that, and especially if we go from a macro level to a micro level, to what extent should we embrace the pain and the difficulties in the knowledge that this is for our own benefit, for a better solution later on?
Okay, big question, right? So I don't know fully. I don't understand why we have to suffer 100%. I understand to a certain degree why we have to, and I definitely personally understand how my consciousness has expanded from going through certain levels of constriction, right? Even very, very intense ones. And I could say that I can appreciate that, right? But on an ultimate level, I don't really understand that. The poison of the snake. The poison of the snake is it created an illusion of separation, right? Of otherness, that you don't see God everywhere. Because Adam, he saw from one end of the universe to the other, and God was everything, in every little everything. And so, it just put those blinders on. And so, for me, it's kind of it's not punishment as much as it is consequence, that here's what it's like when you don't experience God.
Right.
It ends up like Egypt. That's what the experience ends up being. And when you go through that and you have a reality that teaches you through the experience of what it is not to see God and everything, then you really know. Then you get it in a physical way. You get it, right? And then you really want to not have that. It's a certain consciousness that you'll never ever achieve if you're just always blissed out.
And so is there no avoiding that in life? Is there no avoiding constriction to get to that final goal? So
ideally the whole thing is to go from great to better to more awesome to even more awesome, right? So it's just constantly expanding without having to collapse back down and then expand, right? And I think that's definitely where we're headed. But I definitely see in my own experience that when like left to my own devices, like I self-motivation is a big deal. It's really, if you really want to push yourself to the next level without having something push you there and motivate you to make it happen, then you have to like really be on your game and running for the finish line, and throwing everything you have into it. Otherwise, God's going to give you little, pushes along the way to be like, this way. You don't actually like that.
So one of the Yocheved's great skills is she's a great guided meditator. So before we perhaps invite you to do that, are there any questions now we can take from our holy audience?
I have a question, but actually just now what you said, do you feel like since the Jewish people are compared to the moon, and that in terms of our getting in and our getting out of slavery, that there was a period of time where we were expanding from I think it was Shlomo's two Shlomo's time. Yeah, till Shlomo's time, and then the destruction of the temple.
Yeah.
And it's like 15 generations, and then now we're back out. I think I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. So we have a lot of those. We have a lot of those falls. So like if you were to look at the progression line from beginning beginning till the end, which is like one moon cycle, right? So there's a lot of dips and falls as we're climbing up and getting to that place of regaining full consciousness, right? From the point where we lost consciousness in the beginning when we ate from the tree till we get to the point where we regain that, right? So it looks like that,
Which is
It's
actually
it's not.
That's the curve of life, right?
Yeah.
It's always like that.
How's your day up and down?
Yeah.
The main thing is where is it heading to?
And we do it on a macro level and we do it on a micro level.
Sure.
Yeah.
And on a really macro, 50, like thousands, generations level, like.
Yeah.
Wait, so I did have just on the angel thing. Can you interpret signs on your day to day? Can you say this is pushing me this way, and like this leaf is blowing to the right?
It's a really good question because to a certain degree we're told you cannot read into signs, right? That's one of the things about it, like that the Torah says very clearly, don't read into signs, right? So how do we understand that? Because you are allowed to also understand that God's talking to you through certain things, right? So I haven't gotten clear on the answer on that.
Yeah.
So I would, it's not so much of a question, but just kind of a clarification that in the beginning when we first started the podcast, you mentioned like how much is a tzaddik, can he enjoy the physical aspects of the world because he's a tzaddik. Like, what's the, where's the,
where is
like, where, like, how would he, he's a tzaddik. So it's hard to relate to that because we're not tzaddikim, but on a everyday person of who we are. So I think really, because that's what we want to relate to, because that's who we are, and how do we serve Hashem for being who we are. And I think that it really comes down to the consciousness of how we enjoy physical things and the intention of how we enjoy it. Like, it could be such a vast space between the intention and consciousness.
Are you using it to connect or are you using it to disconnect?
Exactly. Or not using it even to consciously disconnect, just being unconscious about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
are you
to
falling
just
into
have the consciousness that it's all from Hashem, that this, beautiful meal or this, whatever we're engaging in, that is from Hashem, and that consciousness and awareness and intention of how we engage.
And that's why the bracha before and afterwards is so crucial, to get that intention right.
Yeah.
So in the last few minutes we have available, is there something else you want to say?
How much time do we have?
We have about 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay, so let's... I did want to say like one more thing on that, like a little bit of what I understand about it is like you're not supposed to say like, oh, I see this, like tree fallen in the road, therefore it means that like it's going to be a terrible day, and it's like that, you're not supposed to be doing that kind of thing, making signs with it. But there's certain things that like are meaningful to you personally, and so it is a specific communication that's going on, right? So within your own logical understanding of your reality, what it means to you. So if that clarifies anything.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the last few minutes, sorry, do you have a question?
You had mentioned that you employ a method for speaking to God and communicating. I guess He communicates back with angels. Could you expand on that a little bit?
So I was just going to do an exercise to experience that.
Oh.
Okay, great. So let's go straight in the and please, the audience, please join in with us on this guided meditation, and also
So-
everybody's watching, please join us in on the guided meditation.
So what it is we're not going to be talking to angels, we're going to be talking to God, right? And so what we're going to do is I'm just explaining what we're going to do, and then we're going to go into it. We're going to be breathing very slowly, closing our eyes and focusing it in our body, and then we're going to move into our heart space. And from there we're going to feel. And then we're going to ask and answer the question to something and receive an answer intuitively, okay? And I'm going to walk you through that. And that's a form of communication, okay? Having a conversation. Okay, so we're just going to sit up. Okay. So you just want your back as straight as possible, whatever chair you're sitting in. And then you want to sink into your seat so that you feel supported, so that you feel like you're being held there. And firstly, become aware of your body. Just feel your entire body as one in its position. And now find your breath. Feel where your breath is at right now. Is it shallow? Is it smooth? And then very gently allow your breath to be pulled in deeper, lower down into your lungs. Slowly filling your lungs up. And then easily exhaling. And as you exhale, feel yourself relax even more. Consciously letting your body relax even more. Breathing nice and slow. All the way to the bottom of your lungs. Filling them all the way up, and then easily exhaling. Letting go. And just feel now what your skin feels like. Just paying attention. Noticing physically the sensation of your skin. And then move in deeper to your muscles. Feeling your muscles in your legs. Feeling your back. Your arms. Just noticing. And then put your attention on your heart space. So that's the center of your chest. Just put your attention right there, and you're going to breathe from that point. Inhaling into your heart space. And then exhaling from your heart space. And what does it feel like there? Just notice. Notice if it's thick or light and airy, if it's active or holding still. Just sense what kind of texture it feels like. If it's warm or cool. It doesn't have to be any of these, you're just noticing. And then we're going to bring ourselves even deeper. So go even deeper into your heart, into the core of your heart. So the core of your heart is a very sacred place. It's the Holy of Holies, where heaven meets earth, where your deepest desire lays. The compilation of all your desires from your lower heart and your higher heart. And just sense the quality of the energy here. And allow yourself to relax in this space. Feel the stillness. And feel the connection with your own self. Just feel your own presence here. Welcome your own presence here. And from this place, allow yourself to ask a question that's been on your mind. It can be any size question. And you're addressing it to Master of the Universe. My God, my beloved, source for everything. Please help me clarify this. And then you put it out there. And then you sit and you receive. And the way that you receive is by just experiencing whatever's happening to you in this moment. You sense in your body what you feel. You notice the thoughts that come into your mind. Any memories that flash up. And it could be nothing happens, and that's also okay. You just sit with whatever's here, knowing that this is the exact thing that you need to receive right now. Sometimes the answers come in forms that we don't comprehend. And then later on it crystallizes in your mind. So just being here, and it's a conversation that you're having with God, so if you want anything to be clarified, keep asking. And see what you feel, and see what you see. And allow yourself to recognize what it means to you. And then slowly you're going to come back out of this, so first saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for always being here. Thank you for always listening. Thank you for always speaking with me and supporting me. And then begin to breathe deeper once again. Nice deep breath. Filling up your lungs. Bringing yourself back. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay.
Wow, that's such a lovely feeling. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up, and just to leave you with a thought, and this is a really powerful thought, and please join in if you have any thoughts on this. But we were talking about listening to angels and listening to the whispers of angels. But I believe that we humans are unique in the creation of mankind, as the Alshech said, because we're the only creations that were created that have the ability to be both physical and spiritual. And we have the ability to move up and down that spectrum. And when we move into the more spiritual segment of that spectrum, we ourselves can become angels to others and whisper things into their consciousness without us even realizing that we're doing it. It just happens, and it just what that person needed to hear absolutely at that time. And we have no idea that that's what's going on. But when we reach up to that elevated state, we become a channel for Hashem to use us as those messengers to others. I'm just wondering whether you've ever experienced that, being a messenger to other people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Must be a great feeling.
There's been experiences that I've had like 10 years later, someone coming over to me and saying, when you said that to me, that really, and I'm just like, I said that? Awesome. So happy.
Very good. So that wraps it up for us. Wishing you a wonderful Shabbat, blessed week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.